Hey guys, welcome to Kyle's Chainsaw Rescue. We are taking another look at that Stil Ms 260 Pro. We got to get in here and clean the carburetor. Now I mentioned in the last video that we are going to replace the carb on this saw for the customer, but I wanted to be able to show you guys how to clean your carburetor. A lot of times that is what the issue is. You know, you just need to clean it. Now this needs this could use a new diaphragm and needs some new seals and stuff in the carb, so we are just going to put a new carburetor on it. It was pretty gummed up from sitting with old gas and just a couple other little issues, so a new carburetor was the route to go anyway. So you got to get rid of your air filter. This is your carb you want to remove. Now with this particular model, we're going to have to remove the handle. You're going to need a T20 star bit. There's a screw right up in the handle. It's not a bad idea to have a catch pan. Take that handle off. Now be careful, this is all spring loaded in here. Here's our throttle rod hooked to our carburetor. You just unhook it very easily. You need an 8mm socket. I will have links down below, either to the same tools or similar tools that I'm using. I will also have a link to an aftermarket carburetor. Now, you guys can either buy and just replace the carburetor. You can buy the tools, whatever you need, but any purchases through those links help support the channel, and I greatly appreciate it. Now in the last video we put a brand new gas line and new gas filter on this. Walk you guys through step by step. Pretty easy process. If you need that, be sure to swing by and check that video out. Grab the top of the carb, finger on the bottom, top, pull. Careful you don't bend your throttle rod. Careful you don't get stuck on the wires on the side. Pull, pop, remove the gas line. Now it's a good idea to have your tank drained. I've been working on this unit so there's no gas in it, so I already know that tank is empty. I'm going to set this whole thing aside. Get myself a metal dish for my carburetor. I'm going to need a Phillips screwdriver, nothing too big, and some brake clean, non-flammable. This is the stuff right here. Hopefully you guys will be able to see. Important thing is remembering how things come apart so you can put them back together. I'm going to start with the top side, which is 4 screws. This is how your carb goes on. This faces you. Bottom side, 1 screw. That brass nozzle points toward the motor to you. Okay, let's remove these 4 screws on top. All right, so there's that top piece. We're down here into the guts. I'm gonna remove, let's see if I can just get this throttle rod out of here. We don't need this in our way. So here's the bottom side. This is where our needle is on this spring, which we're gonna remove and clean. We've got a jet here, which we're gonna monkey with as well. Let's remove the bottom. All right, so we got those pieces off. Right now we're gonna just focus on this part of the carb. In my opinion, it's a good idea to have a shop towel, clean one. As I clean parts, I like to lay them out here. Now, I'm gonna take my brake clean, take my little red nozzle, put that in place. Safety glasses, all right guys? Super, super important, safety glasses. We're gonna hit all these holes out. Actually, before we do that, we are gonna finish taking this thing apart. So this is where you make or break it, okay? If some people say, just buy a carburetor, absolutely, but some of us like to tinker and work on these things, right? I like to work on these things. So we wanna pull this needle out, which is spring loaded. This spring flies, you're definitely buying a new carb. So hold it with your finger, Take your Phillips and undo the screw. This screw holds all that in place. That's why I do it over a bowl. A lot of times things just fall. Put your hand cupping the whole unit and allowing the spring and everything to fall into my hand. There's all the parts. I'm going to put those on the paper towel. We'll set this down. Put my screw there, and I'm going to inspect the needle. Let's see here. You guys probably can't even see it. I want to make sure it's not dinged up, banged up, gummed up. Actually, it looks pretty nice. So I'm going to put all those parts off to the side because we don't really need to do anything else with them. All right, so that's out of the way. Now we can get more brake clean through there. Okay, so we're looking at this side here is the jet. Let's see if we got a mini screwdriver that'll fit this jet. So this is twisted in all the way clockwise. Let's see if we can pop that out. We're gonna go counterclockwise. Now, if yours isn't bottomed out, you wanna remember how many turns out you're doing, where it's located, and how many turns you're getting out of that little jet, okay? Again, do it over a pan, everything just drops in there. Let's set that little guy aside. Now we're ready to do brake clean. Oh, one more thing. You got this filter, little screen. Let's see if we can't fish that out. This one looks pretty clean, but I want a clear passageway. These things take patience, right? You got to enjoy this stuff or really want to do it yourself sometimes. Okay, so everything's out of the way. Now we're going to hit it with brake clean. Take my brake clean, hit all these nozzles. Now this is going to spray out in 100 different places, probably blast you in the face. Have a face shield, have goggles, have safety gear, right guys? Just picking each little port, every little spot. So we did both sides. Those are clean. Yeah, so that little jet we removed with the flat head that was in the carb, we got that next. It looks pretty clear, but we're just gonna take a little clean, blast her out, set her aside. We have that little screen in there. I'm gonna just throw that in the brake clean. The stuff's still pretty clean. There's not like a bunch of junk in here, so I'm not too worried about it getting any dirtier. A little discoloration from the oil on my own hands, but it'll be all right. I put that in and shake it around because sometimes you can get a film from old bad gas. So we're gonna take a look at our other parts here and see if we can't peel these apart. Now sometimes this stuff rips. Got some junk on here. A little bit of gunk. Give things a quick spray, set them aside. Grab the other piece, carefully remove. Okay, that's quite a bit of the reason right here, right? Lots of crap in there. A lot of times what happens with these units, old gaskets left, or they get left dry. These seals dry up. When you go to remove them, they just rip. And for the cost to replace these and the time, it's just as cost effective to do a new carburetor for the customer. Usually. Now this is still nasty, so we're going to take a brass brush and scrub it out. Brass tends to be soft enough to not hurt, scratch anything, but stiff enough to loosen up all the gunk in there. Right, get that out of the way. Parts clean. Let's talk about reassembly. Bring back our screwdriver. Let's flip this guy up. I gotta remember where everything goes, right? Looking on this side. See how it looks? That's where the needle goes. That's where the jet goes. We're gonna put the jet back in. Now in your case, you should have counted how many turns out, so you can put it back in the same amount. I know mine was bottomed out. I plan on just bottoming it out. Bottomed out. Okay. Now, got our little screw ready. Not that flat head. We're gonna have our Phillips head ready. We're gonna take this little piece with the little rod in there. It's gonna go on just like this. There's a little bubble or a little bump that comes down. And take your needle, and it should look like that. Okay. Kind of hold everything in place. It's a little tricky. It's where you lose parts if you're not careful. Try to prop my carb up a little bit. Take my spring. Now don't compress this spring. These fly very, very easily. Set my spring in place. Oops, see, it already popped right out. If you compress it, it'll be gone, and then you definitely gotta get a new carb or a kit, but a new carb is much easier. So my spring in place, I start putting the needle down in. One fluid motion. Once it's in, eyeball it. Spring is in, compressed. Do not lift the pointer finger or it's all gone. Drop your screw in. Tight is tight, don't kill it. Look, spring looks good, slow release. Everything should work. Things are moving, cool beans. This side is complete. So we're holding the unit like this, which means diaphragm goes back on. Top piece goes on. I will say somebody else had this carb apart. I got an arrow and an arrow pointing. I can see, I don't know if you guys can, but 4 screws. Snug those up. Flip it over. Put our little screen back in. Make sure it's seated down in place. Don't misshapen it, just fit it back in the way it goes. Put this piece on. Put this seal Back on. Put this guy back on. Try to line it all up. I just messed it up. Put your screw in. And it's time to reassemble. So that's how you clean the carburetor on the MS260 Pro. Now obviously guys, you got to put it all back together. Basically do that all in reverse. It really should be, you know, simple enough if you've gotten this far. You know, get your throttle rod in here, fish that around, right? So it's in, and then just reassemble the way you took it apart. Hopefully this helped you guys out. Hopefully it'll get your saw running at its peak. Really appreciate you guys watching. Again, hope this video helped you guys out. Be sure to check out some other videos and have an awesome day. Thanks.